now we have none.
Describe the aftermath if we saw that he was readying a ICBM that could reach the U.S., Alaska, Hawaii, and we decided to preemptively take out the assets that we knew where they were, which is more difficult because they're now movable. Describe the aftermath of what would happen and what would be their retaliation.
Well, we don't know for sure, but I think the assumption for several decades has been that they would begin with a massive artillery barrage against Seoul, which is within range across the militarized zone. The North Koreans have, for years, exercised and tested special operations forces, chemical and biological weapons. The fear would be that they would unleash all of this. I don't know that they would necessarily, because the next step would be the annihilation of the North Korean regime. But the fear is that that's their capability, and they might. Just a note on that. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I wouldn't want to judge the current leaders' sanity or lack of sanity, but it does seem to me that North Korean leaders have been rational in their behavior. It sometimes appears odd and it's very threatening, but it's purposeful and it's been consistent. And I think for that reason, it's important also to remain focused on what it is that would probably deter them, which is the threat of personal annihilation. So the threat of we and our South Korean allies would, if we needed to and could, destroy the regime and destroy the leadership. I think that's a message that they understand.
Just to add to the question on the aftermath, we've got 28,500 U.S. troops on the peninsula. That's just the troops. That's not their families. So there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of dependents in addition to the Koreans. Japan is within range, so I think Japan would take a hit, potentially. There would be significant economic impact, frankly, to war on the peninsula, which I don't think anyone is talking about. And the regional actors like the Chinese would move in. They would not sit on the sidelines and watch, the United States trying to rearrange the peninsula in their favor. They would certainly try to intervene at some point, and that could also have catastrophic consequences. So, in terms of an aftermath of a U.S. strike, there are particularly high costs.
If I may just add to that, obviously the most confident thing we can say is that we don't know how the regime would respond. But I think it would depend on whether they saw the strike as a discrete effort made at resolving a specific problem, or whether that is the leading edge of a larger effort at replacing the regime itself. If it was seen as a discrete effort aimed at resolving a specific problem, one can hope that their response would be more restrained. But if it is seen as the leading edge of an effort to replace the regime, then I think all hell breaks loose. At this point, whichever the choices are, I agree with Ms. Maximin completely. The Chinese cannot afford to sit on the sidelines because it undermines their core interests of preventing the rise of chaos on their frontiers and keeping the United States and its military forces as far away as possible from their borders. Those two variables change dramatically if the United States engages in military action on the peninsula.